So mayhem is unfolding right now because Call of Duty 2021 has been officially leaked, rumored. I guess you wouldn't really say officially if it's just a leak or a rumor, but you know what I mean. It's been rumored to be titled Call of Duty World War II Vanguard. It is apparently a working title, so there's a big chance this might actually not be the final title of the game. I can care less about the title. I've said this a million times. The title does not affect the game that much. It only affects the marketing side of things and sometimes the story. Like, they use Black Ops and Modern Warfare titles all the time because they sell well. That's why they do it. It's not going to be make or break for the game. Like, if they made an Advanced Warfare 2, which I knew they wouldn't, if they made an Advanced Warfare 2, that doesn't mean it's going to be just like Advanced Warfare. It's just a title. It doesn't really impact the game that much. People need to realize that. But the most interesting part of this conversation comes from the setting itself, the World War II setting, and it seems to be pissing a lot of people off. And obviously, this is just the hardcore community, the people talking on Twitter right now, the YouTubers, all of those type of people, because when it comes to the casual side of the community, we won't really know what they think until the trailer comes out and the game actually comes out itself. I feel like casuals will mostly be fine with this. Honestly, I assumed most people would be fine with this in general because back in 2017 for Call of Duty World War II, everyone was so excited for it. But I think a big part of that comes from the fact that we were just coming from a bunch of futuristic titles in a row. So that kind of made people just excited to get any sort of a classic feeling COD at all. For me personally, when it comes to setting, all I care about at the end of the day is that it's different from other games that recently came out. That's all I want. All I want is diversity. Diversity. That's the most important thing for me when it comes to Call of Duty games. And setting doesn't just mean the specific time period. Like, people think, oh, all futuristic games are the same setting. All modern games are the same setting. All past games are the same setting. That's not really how it works. I mean, you look at the futuristic titles we did have, all of them had very distinct settings. Advanced Warfare's was kind of like the normal futuristic type setting that you're used to seeing in video games, where it's kind of just like your normal, world, but just futuristic. Kind of like what BO2 was in a way. Just had, better buildings, better gear, better everything like that. BO3 went more into the scientific, biological future where it was very just trippy. You guys know if you've played Black Ops 3. Infinite Warfare was obviously the space setting, which was incredibly different from the other games. So I never got really tired of that because it was very different. And then we get World War II, and then Black Ops 4 kind of had a weird setting because the whole game kind of felt like it had a bunch of different settings going on. Some of the game felt modern, some of the game felt futuristic. Obviously, zombies felt, in the past for some of its maps, all over the place. But I was okay with that. And then we got the modern game with Modern Warfare, and then Cold War with the 80s, which was completely new. So I've been loving the settings that Call of Duty has been visiting for the most part for a lot of these games. And when I heard this was going to be World War II, I got pretty excited because we've only had one World War II COD in the past 12 years. World at War came out in 2008. World War II came out in 2017. So we've only had two in the past 14 years, if you want to go as far as to say that. That's not a lot, you know what I mean? And World War II is more than just what they visited in COD World War II from 2017. That was mainly the European theater. This game could visit the Pacific theater. It could do a lot more between the years because COD World War II was mainly focused on 1944 and 1945, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. You can do some stuff even before that. There's so much more to World War II that they could focus on. And I think people are kind of missing out on that when it comes to the campaign specifically. Obviously, when it comes to multiplayer and such, when it comes to the guns, yes, it's going to probably be the similar guns we're used to seeing from other World War II games. But I think a lot of people kind of love those guns. I mean, the STG, the PPSH, the Thompson, the MP40, these are classics that people always love to see in COD games. So I don't know why everyone is freaking out about it. Again, it's up to your personal opinion. If you're just not interested in a World War II setting, that's fine and all. Personally, for me, I couldn't give a rat's ass about the setting as long as it's different. It could literally be Unicorn Candyland. As long as it's different than the last game, I don't care. I'm just here to have fun and have some new experiences that I haven't had prior, because the setting is not going to determine your exact experience in the game. It's just not. It's not going to affect the gameplay. Not at all. Maybe in terms of little things, I could see gun customization being a little bit limited because of this, but I still could see them doing a lot of different attachments, even with World War II. I mean, look at Cold War. Some of the attachments there aren't really that futuristic. It's the 80s, obviously, and they still managed to have a bunch of different types of grips, a bunch of different types of stocks. You can still do that for a lot of World War II guns. You might have to break the boundaries of what's considered realistic, but who the hell cares? It's a video game. A big reason as to why I think a lot of people are bashing on this before it even comes out is mainly the people who just simply did not enjoy Call of Duty World War II from 2017. But your distaste for that game likely had nothing to do with the setting. It might have. I'm not judging based off of everyone. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of people's problems with the game came from like gameplay related things, like the map design or, some of the division systems that they had for the creative class. Those were the bigger issues there. So how does the setting have anything to do with that? And you might be like, oh, well, it's just Sledgehammer Games in general. Okay, well then you would have a problem with them making any game, wouldn't you? But that wouldn't even matter because Sledgehammer Games is a very different studio today. I don't want to go into this in depth, but if you guys, do some research, Sledgehammer Games is very different. They hired a ton of new people. A ton of new people left since they made COD World War II. I don't expect this game to be anything like COD World War II or Advanced Warfare. I expect it to play similarly to what Cold War has been like, or maybe even Modern Warfare, kind of a mix between the two, but in a World War II setting. That's what I'm expecting. If you don't like that, then I guess you won't like the game, but, that's what I'm expecting to see. And this is something I see not even just for Call of Duty, but in media in general. I see it a lot on social media. People always do this where they don't really understand that correlation does not always equal causation. You learn this in statistics class. If you've taken a statistics course, I'm sure you've learned this before. It's true. I mean, just think about anything in society. Just because they correlate and they go together does not mean that's the reason why you didn't like it or the reason why it didn't work necessarily. Like, for example, let's say you didn't like the past 2 World War II games. You hated World at War. You hated World War II. You might be like, oh, well, there's another game in that same setting. I might not like it. Chances are, if the reason for why you didn't like either of those games had nothing to do with setting, there's no reason for you to assume you're not going to like this as well. The problems you have with that game might be completely different. So just because there's a correlation there between you not liking certain CODs and them also being within the World War II setting does not mean you're not going to like it. I feel like Activision even has this problem sometimes because they correlate a lot of things with CODs. Like a COD will do something and that COD won't do well in terms of sales, so they'll assume people don't like anything about that game at all and they'll just drop anything that the game really did. I feel like that was kind of evident with Transit because a lot of people hated on Transit in Black Ops 2. They didn't do anything similar to Transit until I guess now with Outbreak, really. I mean, ever since Transit, most maps have kind of been, formulaic type maps. They haven't really tried to do these open world things until, of course, now with Outbreak. So that is something I feel like a lot of studios have a problem with. They just kind of think, oh, people don't like this game, so I'm assuming most things about the game people don't like. But again, there's a lot of factors that go into everything in life, so we can't always assume that. And I'm not negating your opinion. Let me just put that out there. If you really do not like the World War II setting, it has no interest to you, sure, whatever. That's your own opinion. That's fine. But I just think people need to realize that it's probably not going to affect the gameplay in a negative way that you might think it will. If setting's that important to you and you really just need it to be something else, then sure, whatever. What I am worried about, though, and I will say I am worried about this, is that after this COD, then the settings will start to feel a little bit formulaic because I'm expecting to see Modern Warfare 2, and I really hope that Modern Warfare 2 gives it a very different setting than what Modern Warfare 2019 had. And then we're going to get another Black Ops game after that, I'm assuming. Hopefully it's not also the 80s because I love the 80s and all, but I don't want to see that again so soon. I think World War II, because it came out 4 years ago and because that was on last gen and now we're on next gen, there's so much they can do with a World War II game. I mean, I'm just imagining some insane things like 32v32 D-Day. Imagine that. They had that one D-Day like mode, I guess, in World War II with the war mode where it was, I think it was called Neptune, Operation Neptune, where it was like supposed to be reenacting D-Day, but it was 6v6 and they had bots running around too. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was fine as is, I guess, but it's not what I think we would all love to see. Imagine actual D-Day with like 32, imagine actually 50, imagine like 50 people running from the beaches of Normandy and the other 50 playing as the Nazis on the other side and you just mowing them down and the other team trying to get to the other side. How insane would that be? How insane would that be? That would be so much fun. So the possibilities for a World War II game are endless on these next-gen games. So I'm really excited for Call of Duty World War II Vanguard, if it's called that. I really doubt it'll be called that, but that's just a working title, so we're going to keep that as is. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Peace out.